Right now on the fan hotline, we bring in my favorite person in the game, Mary Kay Cabot. She is the Browns beat writer by way of Cleveland.com. She is the 2025 Dillon Jr. Award winner. You can follow her on X at Mary Kay Cabot. Mary Kay, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, Earl. How you doing?
I'm great. I won't complain today. So first things first, we got to get some injury updates. Andre Schmidt hurt himself in practice. Jack Conklin, will he be available in any status that you can give us on Joe Bitonio?
You know, it's hard to say at this point. I think some of these guys really, truly are going to come down to a game-time decision, including Andre. Now, Andre won't be game time. If they have to do something with Andre, that will happen today. But the other guys, when you talk about Joel or Jack, those guys probably will come down to more of a game-time decision, and we won't know more until we get to Huntington Bank Field on Sunday afternoon.
Mary Kay, what is the biggest thing that the Browns need to do to have at least a semi-productive offense on Sunday?
Well, they're going to have to try to run the ball, which it won't be easy, but Quinn Sean now has a full week of practice under his belt, so he should be a little bit better. And then Joe just has to be more efficient in terms of not turning the ball over. That was always going to be the question mark with Joe, and he has to answer that in a different way than he has so far. He can't be turning the ball over and expect to keep his job. It's just not going to happen. So he's got to shore that up. He's got to make better decisions. 4 turnovers in 2 weeks is not going to cut it for the Browns.
Mary Kay, before I ask anything else about Joe, I did have one more question to you about a particular offensive lineman. We listened to Dewand Jones speak, I believe that was Wednesday, and it seemed like his message to the fans about what happened last week was very different from Kevin Stefanski. At my other job, somebody flat out came out and said, you know what, he was missing assignments and Kevin was just doing his best to cover for him. Do you believe that Dewand Jones can turn it around and actually lock down that left tackle position long term?
Well, first of all, this was a predetermined thing that they were going to spell him and give him some snaps off because he has had heat-related illnesses in the past. So even though it sounded like there was really a disconnect, I don't think there really was a disconnect. I think that they went into the game trying to prevent him from having a heat-related illness like he's had a number of times before. So I think more was made out of that than it needed to be. I think it was portrayed by a few people as more than it really was. And I think that there's a chance they'll probably do the same thing again on Sunday based on the fact that it's supposed to be 85 degrees on Sunday. So I think you can probably expect to see a little bit more of the same depending on what they have going on elsewhere on the line. But they do have issues, again, because they have Jack and Joel, who are both questionable for this game. But I still think that you will see Dewand maybe taking a few snaps off here and there. He needs to get better. He needs to progress. And when we talked to Mike Bloomgren, he said the second half of that Ravens game was the best ball that Dewand has played. So maybe there was a method to their madness.
So, Mary Kay, with all of those questions about the offensive line, how did the Browns stop Micah Parsons?
Well, it's going to take a village. I mean, they're going to have to be on point, and they're going to have to try to find him where they can. He's going to move around a lot, and he's going to try to exploit what he feels are inferior matchups to him. So if there are some backup guys in there, I'm sure he will be trying to attack that particular area. I'm sure he'll be going after Dewand as much as he can. And he's going to do what Miles has been doing. He'll be moving around and trying to wreak havoc from anywhere.
Mary Kay, you talked about Joe Flacco and the turnovers, and anybody that's been around this Cleveland Browns organization with Kevin Stefanski as the head coach knows that he's pretty even keel. But if you want to get him triggered emotionally, you turn that football over and you will see a different Kevin Stefanski. Is it likely or unlikely that we see Dillon Gabriel start next week if those turnover problems for Joe Flacco continue this week against the Packers?
Well, I think the leash will continue to get shorter if he turns the ball over. Kevin does hate turnovers. He's always been very vocal about that, and that's the number one thing that Joe has to do. That's job number one for him, is to protect the football. He's got to have a turnover-free game, and then he's got to string together another turnover-free game. And if he can do that, then I think he'll keep his job. But if he's out there throwing more picks and fumbling the ball away, then it is going to be the Dillon Gabriel show sooner than later. It depends on if Joe can hang on to that ball.
So we're not too sure yet about the status of Tucker Kraft, whether or not he will or won't play, but they still do have a lot of playmakers. What do the Browns kind of need to do to stop them and stop Jordan Love from being as effective as they have been through 2 weeks?
Well, they have to get him off his mark. They have to rattle him. They have to make him be more inconsistent. They have to prevent him from getting that ball out on time. And they just have to make sure that those guys in the back end aren't having an easy time of it. So I think, that's the key, is to really be disruptive. And the Browns can do that. They can do that from the outside with Miles and their other guys on the other side. And they can do that from the interior with Mason Graham, who's off to a really nice start, and Malik Collins. So I think these guys have a good game plan going in to disrupt Jordan Love, and I do think that it will be a little bit more difficult for him if Tucker Kraft doesn't play this game. That means he would be without Tucker Kraft and Jayden Reed, and those are two of his top weapons. And Tucker Kraft was the leading receiver this season, and he's questionable for this game after suffering that knee injury in practice on Thursday. And then Jayden Reed was their leading receiver each of the last 2 years. So he's without a couple of guys, and I think that matters. So these are some of the things they have to do.
I was going to ask you next, Mary Kay, how confident was you about the Cleveland Browns defensive backs against, the Green Bay Packers playmakers? But I guess I'll shift the question. Your opinion, I know it's only been 2 games, but how has Greg Newsome looked to you since he's been back on the outside playing corner?
I think Greg's done a really, really nice job. Now, in this past game, he had to be bumped up to number 1 corner, and that's really not what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the number 2 corner behind Denzel Ward. So Greg Newsome, hopefully for him this week, he'll be able to play the role that he's supposed to be playing as the number 2 corner behind Denzel Ward. And hopefully for these guys, they're young guys. Cam Mitchell will step up. Miles Harden will step up, because Cam Mitchell did not have a good game when they got down into their depth last week. So that can't happen again. He's got to be in the right place at the right time and play better than he did last week. But I think Greg is off to a really nice start.
Does Kevin Stefanski trust Andre Schmidt to kick like a 50-plus yard field goal?
I think so. We watched him kick a number of really long kicks in practice in Baltimore, and he was nailing. I saw him nail a 60-yard kick, a 56-yard kick. So, yes, they trust him to make the long kick. Now, what we don't know going into this game is how is that left calf of his. So, even though it's his left calf, I do think that it can impact how he kicks. So we'll know by later today if he's going to get that chance or not.
So was it just that, game plan just figured it out that they decided? I know they punted from the plus 41 at one point last week in Baltimore. Was it just that the game plan wore itself out that Schmidt wasn't going to get a long kick?
I'm not really sure what the game plan was in that regard, but it is not for lack of trust. That is not it. They absolutely believe that he can make those long kicks. They've seen him make those long kicks consistently, and that is not an issue.
Mary Kay, it's been a lot said this week about Kevin Stefanski's offense. Last year, this team scored 15.2 points per game. Through 2 games, we're averaging 16.5. We are a long way removed from 2020 when his offense averaged 25.5 points a game under Kevin Stefanski. You know the stats like everybody else. We haven't scored 20 points since December 2nd last year against the Denver Broncos. In your opinion, why has it been such a struggle for Kevin Stefanski's offense to at least put 20 points on the board to complement the defense?
Yeah, it is puzzling. First of all, you have to get good quarterback play, and you can't be turning the ball over. And we know that Jameis Winston was turning the ball over too much. And now we know that Joe Flacco and the rest of the offense, not just Joe, they're turning the ball over too much. So that's not going to help matters at all. And then this week, they're going against a defense that's not giving up any points. I think they're maybe number 4. I don't know if it's number 4 or number 6 in points allowed. They've given up 13 and 18 in their first 2 games. And this is a really, really, really good defense that they're going up against. And I think just as you go throughout this whole season, you have to remember that they have one of the toughest schedules in the NFL this year. According to Sharp Football, it's the second hardest schedule in the NFL based on projected win totals, and that makes a difference when you're going out there and playing these really tough teams and really tough defenses. But having said that, you still have to get the job done. You still have to score points. These guys need to be able to run the ball, and they need to be able to protect it, and then Joe has got to elevate his game and play better than he did in Baltimore.
What have you liked from the Browns receiving options? I know Harold Fannon's had a great kind of start to his rookie season, but like Jerry Jeudy on the way down, what have you liked? What have you need to see more improvement from that unit?
Well, I think there needs to be more of a connection between Joe and Jerry. I think there were times when Jerry was open in this past game, and there were some plays that were left out there. So Joe needs to be seeing it better, reading it a little bit better, getting the ball out a little bit quicker and more efficiently. I think Harold is off to a really nice start. I think that Joe needs to make sure that he's seeing David a little bit better. David is a great weapon, and they need to make sure that they're using him. And then Cedric Tillman, he just got knocked down a bunch of times in that game. He only caught 2 of 7 targets, so he needs to elevate his game. He's the number 2 receiver. He needs to do a better job. So it just needs to all get better together. And, it's going to start up front, and then it's going to flow back into the running game. But they just all need to pick it up a notch.
Mary Kay, do you like the uniforms that the Cleveland Browns are going to debut on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers? And do you think that due to the weather, I don't know if they can, I don't know what the NFL rules is, but I kind of felt like the Cleveland Browns should about face and kind of go wear all white, knowing that it's going to be hot. And we had heat-related issues last week against Baltimore.
Well, you're right about that. I don't think they thought that it was going to be this hot this game. Originally, it was not supposed to be this hot, and now they are stuck in these brown-on-brown uniforms, and I think it is going to be potentially a factor when you've got a number of guys on the team that do struggle with heat-related illnesses, and Denzel Ward is one of those guys. There's no guarantee that Denzel Ward is not going to cramp up again this game. That is just an unpredictable thing. Even if he spends his whole entire week making sure he's very hydrated and that they're ready to go and they have IVs ready and everything, it could still happen. And I do think that, there is a chance that those uniforms can be a little bit of a factor.
Do you like the brown helmets?
I don't. I really don't. I watched them in practice this week, and they just seemed kind of drab to me. They just don't pop. I really don't love them. And I'm not really big on the whole uniform thing normally, but I can say that I don't really like the helmets.
I'm glad you said that because I hate the brown helmets. I don't think it looks good.
See, the problem is nobody plays Madden but me. You got to know how to dress it up right? So, Mary Kay, I think it was the 2017 Browns alternate jerseys, the Browns with the orange stripes on the sleeves. Then you got the brown pants with the orange stripes going down. That uniform to me matches up perfectly with those helmets. Maybe at a 4:15 start though, not a 1 o'clock start at all. Mary Kay, earlier you talked about Quinn Sean Judkins. He met with the NFL league officials last week. We still have not heard anything as far as a possible suspension looming. He's getting himself prepared to play again this week against the Green Bay Packers. 2 parts. How has he looked this week in practice with a full week? And do you still anticipate him being suspended by the league?
Well, we only now see the first 10, 15 minutes of practice. We are not seeing much at all. But what I do see of him, he looks in tremendous shape. He's looked that way since the moment he showed up on the doorstep. He worked really, really hard in the offseason, and now I have a little bit more insight into where he was and what he was doing. And he really was working out, maybe in some cases even harder than he would have been had he been here practicing and sharing reps with a bunch of people. So I do think that he's in fantastic conditioning shape, but then you have to get in football shape. You have to remember again how to run behind those blockers, and you have to make sure that you're hitting the holes, and you have to be watching a lot of film. This is a defense that is going to try to do a lot of things to confuse these guys, and it's a really, really good, powerful, sound defense. So he's got to be ready to go. He's got to be able to pick up the blitz. He's got to know where Micah Parsons is. So there's a lot he's got on his plate this week. Oh, as far as the suspension is concerned, have not heard anything from the NFL. They're mum on that right now, and I think if they do decide to suspend him, it's just going to come out of the blue. Nobody is going to give any advance warning on that whatsoever.
And final question, Mary Kay, and we'll get you out of here on this. Do the Cleveland Browns win this week? Why or why not?
Well, I feel like now with Tucker Kraft probably missing this game and Jaden Reed being out, I think it gives the Browns a much better chance to win this game. But I still think that the Packers defense is really, really going to give the business to the Browns offense, which is just not a well-oiled machine yet. And so I think that the Packers defense will probably prevail. But that Cleveland Browns defense could come through and really try to shut down Jordan Love, try to shut down Josh Jacobs like they did to Derrick Henry last week. That was amazing.
That was beautiful.
If they can do that, then they have a chance to win this game. So I wouldn't put it past the Browns to win this game, but I did pick them to lose.
Mary Kay, as always, a great time when I get a chance to talk to you. As I tell you all the time in private, protect your peace, protect your energy, and go have a great Saturday.
You too. Thanks for having me.
All right, no problem.
Thank you.
That's Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com joining us on a fan hotline.